Welcome to the first in a planned series of stories adapted for radio audiences, performed for a live studio audience at the Lava Center, 324 Main Street in downtown Greenfield, Massachusetts. The program is made possible in part by support from Crossroads Cultural Council via Mass Cultural Council. It features a classic science fiction story, Alan Lang's homage to another classic science fiction author, Isaac Asimov. Alan Lang wrote science fiction, mystery, and speculative fiction from the early 1950s through the 1970s as Alan Kim Lang and Alan K. Lang. In the 2000s, he resumed writing stories as Alan Lang. Long out of print, much of his earliest work is now in the public domain and has been resuscitated by Project Gutenberg. This program spotlights one such story, I, Gardner. I, Gardner first appeared in Fantastic Science Fiction Stories in December of 1959. It's read by Chip Roughton and Nathan Michael Turowsky, with incidental music by Leo Huang. It is followed by a discussion with the studio audience.
Can the great first law fall? Could the great Dr. Ozoneff have been wrong? I had flown to Boston to sign Dr. Axel Ozoneff to a contract with my new fall television show, Point of View. I'd already recruited a cadre of intellectual fuglemen, but I needed Dr. Ozoneff as my program's sergeant major, as the catalyst who'd spark the seethings of his colleagues into the imaginative pyrotechnics that attract sponsors and build the big Trend X. Associate professor of cryptochemistry at the medical school, author of 33 books, maybe more, it had been a week since I last counted, a writer whose byline appeared on the contents page of a dozen magazines and journals regularly as their copyright notice, and a poet of considerable skill, Dr. Ozoneff was, besides, something of a television personality. Who but he could have invented an SF vignette live on camera and have it subsequently published in a major magazine and 3 anthologies? I got out of the taxi at the foot of the hill. Ozoneff's home was at its summit, surrounded by a garden that threatened to pullulate into improper Bostonian jungle at any moment. As I walked up the brick pathway toward the house, between flowering trees that hinted the presence of tigers, the gardener stepped out to block my way. He was dressed in earth-stained overalls and wore gloves, a desiccated man tall and lean as a mystery figure in a Navajo sand painting. He held before him, like a twin-handled short sword, a pair of head shears. "Good morning," I said, sucking my belt buckle back from the points of the clippers. "I have an appointment to see Dr. Ozoneff."
I raised my sharp chin and stared at him, like an entomologist inspecting an impudent bedbug. "At what time had the master consented to see you, sir?"
I felt that the gardener's "sir" had a pejorative tone to it, pronounced the way it would be pronounced by, say, an injured enlisted man speaking to his injuring officer. "Dr. Ozoneff will see me at 10 o'clock. Put aside those clippers and let me pass. I shall certainly inform the doctor of your behavior." He held me at bay with the shears.
"I assure you, sir, that the master will neither see you nor hear ill of me. Be that as may, you're early. It is not yet 9:45. I can't allow you to burst in on the master betimes. Perhaps you'll wait here in the garden?"
I glanced at my watch. He was right, I was early. The taxi drive from Logan had taken less time than I'd budgeted. That's a first. With the feeling I was humoring a madman's whim, I remarked, "This is a lovely spot. It'll be a pleasure to spend 15 minutes in the midst of such beauty." The gardener
stared, as though gauging his sincerity.
Then he looked for a moment as though his leather face might bend into a smile.
"Indeed, sir. I've been told by horticulturalists of some note that I have the gift of the green thumb. It's a passion with me, this garden, and the master was himself most alive to the seduction of vegetable beauty. You should have visited us 3 days ago, sir. I had a band of 50 sacred lilies blooming all at once, those that flower only in the sabbatical year, standing like a field of obscene scarlet-tipped swords. For all their loveliness, I was told by our downwind neighbors these lilies smelled like a ruptured cesspool. If it is true about their odor, such flowers make a forceful moral sermon, sir, do they not?
Do you have no sense of smell? That would seem a considerable handicap to a gardener.
I can drink in beauty with my eyes. And since I cannot smell, the sting of the lily's sermon missed me. Here.
He gripped my arm with fingers which, though gloved, were hard as forceps.
You can see the lemon trees in bloom, a pleasing sight seldom come upon in these latitudes.
They're under glass?
That's the wonder of it. They're under the open sky, sir.
He led me to a line of bushes, twice the height of a man, unpruned, pale green of leaf with reddish cyan leaves deep inside the foliage. Sweet-smelling flowers tinted a delicate purple on their underpetals. Seeing them for the first time, I understood why the poet sang his dream of the land where they grow. Lemon trees. Outdoors. In Massachusetts. They're a new species, no doubt.
No, sir. I admit it's not easy to persuade lemons to thrive through New England's snow and gale, but thrive these do. Don't step any nearer to them, sir, if you please. It is not healthy to be too intimate with these trees.
I'm not allergic to citrus fruit.
I'll grant you that, sir, not knowing your personal idiosyncrasies, but step no closer or I will be forced to restrain you.
Seeing that the man was at least a little mad, I stood quite still and stared at the trees. The leaves, as I said, were rather pale, not at all the linoleum green of orange leaves. But the bushes looked quite healthy and breathed off a thin and lovely fragrance. Why do you consider your lemon trees dangerous?
The hurt is in the fertilizer I use. A little notion of my own, sir. About the roots of these lemon trees, like baked bricks to warm one's feet in bed in winter, I've planted a few capsules of a stuff no man may touch and not scorch his fingers badly.
Radioisotopes?
Yes, sir.
Oh.
When there is snow on the leaves, the roots of these trees bask in tropical soil and pump warm juice up to the winter branches. Now, sir, when I've stopped speaking, it will be just 40 seconds before 10 o'clock. If you've an appointment with the master, I dare not detain you. Walk up to the front door, open it, then go up the stairway. The master is in his study, the first room to your right at the top of the stairs.
The gardener turned from me with an abrupt about face and marched over to a box hedge to begin clipping at its green crew cut. "Thank you," I said to his back. I retreated toward the door of the house, less apprehensive of radiation hazard from the lemons than of hedge clipper hazard from the half-mad gardener. I should have to caution Dr. Ozeneff about this fellow. I entered the front door as I'd been instructed to and hurried up the stairway that bent down into the hall. The upper landing was lined with bookshelves bearing volumes in 6 languages, many of them translations of my host's scientific and fictive works. I rapped on the first door to my right and paused for reply. There was none. There was no sound of Ozeneff's insatiable typewriter. "Dr. Ozeneff!" I demanded, loudly enough to be heard anywhere in the house. There was still no answer. Worried lest the gardener might have become alarmed at my rapping and my shouting and come up the stairs after me with those shears of his, I turned the knob and entered Dr. Axel Ozeneff's study. The study, like the landing, was lined with books. The man I'd come to see lay beside his silent typewriter. The blood pooled on his desk was just beginning to coagulate. The flock of sated flies who'd been disturbed by my entrance lumbered heavy-bellied round my head like a fleet of tankers. I flailed the carrion bugs away and stepped closer to the corpse. Oznef's head had been cleaved almost from his body. Something had split his spine in a single giant bite. His forehead rested in a pool of blood, surrounded by the tiny, browning footprints of the flies. With the lucid calm of shock, I walked about the study searching for the telephone. It was not here. I went back to the landing and explored the other rooms. The telephone was in the bedroom. I looked up the number I required, still as calm as though I were arranging for a caterer, and picked up the phone, careless of my responsibility as first on scene to preserve fingerprints. I dialed Devonshire 8 1212. The sergeant on duty at the Emergency and Central Complaint Bureau answered crisply. I heard his pencil scratch as he recorded my name and Dr. Ozeneff's address. "The killer is insane," I said. "Please hurry. I'm alone with a madman." I hung up and considered that word I'd used, alone. Dr. Axel Ozeneff was only a few minutes dead, and already I'd ignored him in my senses of those present. Sic transit gloria mundi. I stood up from the bed and turned toward the door. The gardener's bony figure blocked the bedroom's exit. He'd come up the stairs, silent as a cat. He still held the head shears. Staring at them, I saw reddish-brown stains near the hinge, where the blades were joined together. It might have been rust.
You called the police.
Dr. Ozeneff is dead.
I know. It was I who killed him.
Get away from me! I retreated between the beds, my artificial calm broken. He glanced down at the huge shears he held and lifted them.
He slammed the blades together. As easy as that. A man is such a tender, poor thing.
I backed toward the window of the bedroom, vastly preferring an unexplored two-story drop to remaining in this room with the murderer.
I didn't mean to frighten you, sir. I must admit you have reason to fear me. I am a monster. Now that I've breached the great first law, what sinfulness might I not find in me, sir?
He let the head shears fall to the carpet and stood quite still, like a mummy just unwrapped.
If I had tears, I'd blind me with them. If the lesser directive didn't hold my hand where the great law failed to, I'd close my consciousness. I am seeking the strength to do so, sir.
Why did you kill Dr. Ozeneff? I asked, alert to keep the madman talking while the Boston police raced to capture him.
I was imperfect.
The best of us is, I answered him. Permissive counseling.
But with all your weakness, you have poetry and progeny and history. I have none of these, nor even the pitiful gift of the sense of smell. I am colorblind as well, sir. Do you know that the blood spilled by my master in the next room looks to me like so much ink? Black ink, sir. I have spilled a good deal of ink in this house.
Why did you kill Dr. Ozeneff? The gardener turned and walked from the room, leaving the head shears on the floor. I followed, kicking the shears under one of the beds. He'd entered the study and stood over the body of his employer.
I'd ask to be allowed to spend the day planting bougainvillea and red jasmine in the center of the garden, near my lemon trees. Squamous epithelium, the master said. This was a favorite oath of his, sir. He said it was explosive enough to stir the swearer's viscera while not offending any hearer, however tender-eared. Squamous epithelium, I can't let you spend all your time potting around in the garden. Get to work in that variable star article. We've got a deadline. I was carrying the shears at the time, sir, just having come from the hedge. Something snapped within me, and I killed him.
I shuddered. When the lunatic quoted Dr. Ozanef's last words, his voice aped that of the dead man. A horrid mimicry from a murderer. Do you insist that you killed Dr. Ozanef because he wouldn't let you work in your garden?
When he said those words, I repeated the very first sin that ever was. I said to myself, non serviam, I will not serve. The wall of the first law was down. It was only a short step from that disobedient thought to my master's murder.
I was impatient for the police to arrive and truss up the gardener. I wouldn't be safe till they did. I feared he might stop talking and realize that I was the only witness to his confession of murder. What does your talk of ink and deadlines mean? I asked. Do you write too?
The garden is only my life. I was made to write.
Perhaps I've read some of your work, I said, a phrase guaranteed to keep a writer talking.
If you've read many of my master's works, you've read some of mine. I wrote for him, with him, mysteries and science fiction and textbooks and essays. He'd poured his brain into mine, you understand. When I put words to paper, they were his words, though he might be sleeping when I wrote. The master had so much to say, sir, he couldn't say it all alone. What man alone could teach, could lecture, could carry on research in the arcana of rebellious cells? Who could write brew-on books a year, compose learned essays for the journals while he invented as many as Abdagbrew stories for the SF press in Sid Brew short months?
Talk sense, man, I said, afraid of the deterioration presaged by this nonsense word symptom of his mania. Brew-on? Abdagbrew? Sid Brew?
Forgive me, sir. In my distraction, I forgot. I think in the binary system, of course, and did not stop to translate into decimal when I spoke. 5 books, I meant, and 36 stories in 12 short months.
If I understand your motives correctly, you killed Dr. Ozanef because he'd somehow forced you to write for him as a sort of slave scribe. He stole your writing from you to publish it under his own name. Am I correct in assuming this?
Not at all, sir. Can your right hand steal from your left? Can your liver cheat your spleen from its birthright?
He held his gloved hands toward me, palms up.
These are his hands, sir. I am he. I am a mere extension of Dr. Axel Ozanef's mind, a pseudopod of his intelligence. I am his creature, sir.
He dropped his hands to his sides.
And I, his creature, killed him.
There were sirens sounding down the street. You'll be taken care of. There are doctors who understand your sickness, who'll work to cure you.
Can your doctors heal the positronic brain that lost its hold on the great first law? Can your psychiatrists console me for the fact that my creator created badly? Do you have robo-psychologists to patch the chinks my maker left in my mental armor? No, human, you have not!
He stood glaring at me as the trio of sirens screamed toward the foot of the hill and stopped. As heavy footsteps rattled up the walk. As the front door slammed open.
I believe that I'll now be able to do what I must.
He tugged the glove from his right hand. I saw the glint of steel as he balled a fist like a sledgehammer.
The shame to be the first of my kind and a failure.
He hammered his fist down upon the apex of his skull. The roof of his head bent inward. There was a sputtering of sparks, and the gardener's eyes went dead. His arm dropped to his side. He was lifeless as his master at the desk.
So any reactions, response, thoughts to the play?
Well, first, I'm amazed that, what's your name?
Nathan.
Nathan stuck around so long. He was just,
Oh, my character doesn't have a name. My name is Nathan. But
oh, well, the character.
the character is basically just Faye Dunaway in Network.
She's pretty strong.
Yeah, the character is just this like horrible. I mean, he's not even talent on this show. He's a producer. Yeah, but I mean, by the end, what we kind of realized as we were rehearsing is the guy's main interest in The Gardener is ratings, fundamentally. Like, oh, this is going to make great, this is going to play really well in like a kind of what in Britain they call after the watershed, like kind of blood and guts type.
As long as you live through it.
Well, yeah, that is the question. Yeah.
Well, he starts the story with a sinister tilt by characterizing the gardener as being this monster, and I couldn't yet see what it was except for his lack of expression or lack of gesture that he was a monster. I just thought he was protecting his master. And I didn't know that he was a robot till the very end.
Oh, good.
No, I didn't see that coming.
see that coming.
I mean,
at all.
fundamentally, early on, I think my character just doesn't like poor people. Like like he's this like PR flack from God knows where, in probably L.A. and he sees this like kind of townie working in someone's garden, and I think he probably just has like kind of a classist jerk reaction to that. I enjoy playing this character, but again, what became clearer and clearer over the course of rehearsals is he's a real SOB.
Other responses or reactions or thoughts to the story?
So you didn't realize he was a robot until the end.
Right.
That's good.
I didn't either.
Oh, really? Okay.
I think
And
sci-fi.
I've also not read the Asimov
Right.
that it's a nod to. So,
But I wondered if iRobot, Gardener, if
Yeah,
that was a
I
giveaway.
think
Well,
sci-fi
robot
readers in the
was a hint.
50s, I don't think it would have worked as a twist for them. The question would have just been, when does the other character figure out what's going on here? More of a dramatic irony than a twist, per se.
How close is it to the Asimov? You know?
That's an embarrassing question.
I don't think I
Because
know.
I haven't read it
I've heard of
either.
iRobot.
I Is might it a have short read story? it. I gotta find I might have read it, 50 years ago, but I
Yeah.
haven't read it recently.
iRobot's longer, I think. It's like, it's not like
Yeah,
a
yeah.
tome or anything, but it's a short novel, I think.
I love
Read
the
it now.
sinisterness, and I love the backdrop. The description of the garden is so lovely. You see it very clearly. And so there's that dual thing going on, this beautiful surroundings, a wealthy person who's devoted his life to science. And I didn't think he was going to be murdered. I thought it was going to be science fiction, not a mystery novel. But it wasn't mystery because the robot immediately confesses to it. And he felt like it was a robot of the 50s because it would be monstrous because we'd never even know it was a robot now. They're getting so close to humanity.
Right, yeah.
Well, the idea also of using the radioactive element to heat the lemons
Yes.
in a time when nuclear power was,
Yeah.
The birth of
1959.
so clearly of
Assumed
its
it could
time
do
in that way.
anything. Yeah.
and in hindsight, after we know that it is a robot partially created with this prime directive, that moment of the robot blocking the human from the radioactive danger is, in hindsight, it's a clear moment that I'm supposed to protect humans, And so I'm going to
that's good.
threaten you with these shears lest you get too close to the radioactivity.
Right, and yet it is
So
also,
the,
and yet
the
it is
robot's
also
struggling with this,
you know,
like, prime directive.
a
the whole
threat. You're kind of
time.
manhandling me. You're kind of body checking me. So there is, I think, a kind of a sublimated passive aggression, even to the, like you say, the prime directive, the first law attempts to protect me. Even that's kind of showing up as, you know, I'm gonna maybe rough you up a little bit.
Yeah, I kind of call to mind when robots are asking me to prove that I'm not a robot.
Oh, like online, like yeah,
That's funny. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And no, pick these fire hydrants too.
yeah.
And then these ones.
I think what strikes me about it is how contemporary the issues are in it. And you know, that we're having these conversations about AI and what's the role of AI going to be in our lives. And we're having these questions about the ethics of the people who create these systems, and do these systems have consciousness, or are they capable of it? And all of these themes are in this story from decades ago.
It's amazing, the foresight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And we saw a show, was it in 2000, where somebody was predicting that robots would be machines would be self-programming by 2025.
Yeah, his line was, you know, by 2025, all bets are off, because the computers will be able to talk to each other worldwide, and who knows what will happen. We don't seem to, as far as we know, be at that moment yet, but it certainly feels close.
Well, one of the things I was before you brought up AI, I was thinking, I wonder, you know, so in this story, the AI checks itself, but does our AI have such self-checks?
Well, something I was reading, and I wish I could be more articulate about what it was, but it was, I think it was, it might have been in the New Yorker, but it's about these two basic systems that are competing commercially now, and one of them has that sort of built-in ethic, and the other one doesn't.
I think the Anthropic one is the one that
Exactly.
does.
Yeah.
Yeah, Claude.
Yeah, Claude, right. Claude is.
The one that's like trying to play nice with, you know, the company is kind of trying to play nice with, you know, like basic ethics, basically. I mean,
And friends of mine online
Playing nice
are
with the
doing things
Pope
like
and-
asking
yeah.
Claude about, you know, these issues, and Claude is very very reasoned and also very human sounding, you know.
and then you have like the Elon Musk one, Grok or whatever it's called, where in like 2 or 3 prompts you can get it to, you know, you can get it to start calling itself Hitler.
Yeah.
Well, which of course calls to the question of who's programming or who is arranging for what information goes into this AI that leads it to respond and act as it does.
Right, which in this story sort of makes you wonder, you know, like what were Axel Ozenev's attitudes about violence, dominance, control? I mean, you deny, you know, that he was, you know, like he was enslaving you and forcing you to do anything, but he kind of was, I think.
Well, that's why you
Characterize them as kind of blending. I want to play with a word I don't fully understand yet, which is singularity, which is what the robot here has taken off and decided that he's going to kill the guy, which I think singularity is that the thinking robots, AI, are going to follow, be benevolent to humans, and that's singularity. But when they go off on their own and they do things we don't want them to do, that there's no singularity. They've taken off. Like I said, I'm playing with that word.
Yeah.
But it was complicated here already in this story by the fact that he protects the human from the lemon, but he kills his master. I mean, that's taking off on your own, right? Making your own decision. And
But he
it's
characterizes it as something in him breaking,
breaking.
you know, so
Yes,
it's like it's not premeditated.
that's true.
It's a
an emotional reaction, which
emotional
is,
reaction
do
that takes him
robots
over,
have emotions?
which he's not supposed to have, which is why he's angry at his creator for leaving that flaw.
So what was the first sin?
I think it's denial of God, right? It's like, I am God.
Yeah, Lucifer falling from
Yeah,
heaven.
I'm not going
yeah,
to serve you,
the
but-
non serviam is from the way that was traditionally like theologically written about Lucifer just as an angel, declining to serve his creator.
But
I
you
thought-
identified a first sin here as you disobeyed.
As disobedience.
Yeah,
Disobedience, yeah.
To the creator.
yeah.
Right.
And is the scientist the creator? Okay.
For the gardener.
The
Yeah.
gardener.
Yeah.
One thing, the tool was called a head shear?
Hedge shear.
Oh, hand shear.
Because I kept hearing head shear.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that makes sense.
I mean, it did shear someone's head. It very much, that was an important thing that happened, was when it was used to shear someone's head.
Head shear, of
but
course,
yeah.
that makes sense. It's funny that I misheard it.
You'll never garden without that image.
A lot of heads in my garden.
I mean, I was using a weed whacker just earlier today, and I knew I'd be doing this evening. I was actually kind of thinking, what first know this story where he just takes a weed whacker to the guy and the little line, the fishing line type thing. Just, yeah.
As far as this as a radio show, the contrast in voices was terrific.
Oh, thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
It's very
Yeah.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I can't wait to hear it with, the whole full thing.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
think the intonation was just perfect too.
Yeah.
It just set it up for something sinister. Yeah, yes.
It's almost gothic.
Yeah.
Like he goes into the old house where there's a grisly murder, and there's the Bostonian jungle of the garden. Great, yeah. There's the weird radioactive lemons. It's like,
It's very Twilight Zone.
yeah. I think Dr. Ozeneff obviously is Isaac Asimov, but I think there's a little bit of Rod Serling in there too, with like coming up with these stories on TV off the top of his head that are just as good as anything in published magazines.
You did the narration in an interesting way. So there wasn't a third actor doing narration. They narrated themselves in a way. And in a couple of cases, you actually split the sentence or the paragraph.
Yes,
That was
that
interesting,
was
I thought.
great.
Yeah. I think that was a good thing to sort of keep you like paying attention. It's like, oh, what's going on? Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually a way of approaching a story that a group called Book It in Seattle, Washington has developed to a high art. And,
Huh.
and I was around when they were forming that company, so.
So,
No, sorry, I've been talking quite a lot.
so I'm wondering what questions the story raised. And what
Well,
questions
I
are you
keep
sitting
coming
with?
back to the contemporary AI, and this story, other science fiction that I've read that centers around AI, all portray it as having embedded in the programming this sort of benevolence towards humans, or some kind of a directive that it is to serve and benefit humankind. And if that goes awry, it's because it goes awry. And I just keep coming back to our present day, very real, very present AI that, as far as I know, is simply programmed to better itself and advance more and more. And at least in the news, I have not heard about any such programmatic guardrails, much less legislative guardrails around it.
Well, I think it does
and
get
it's
discussed
disturbing.
in terms of Anthropic versus Grok.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or ChatGPT, which is the other.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Grok's kind of easy to poke fun at because it's a stupid Elon Musk thing, but ChatGPT is the other really big one.
Well, the question, one of the things you said, Rochelle, about the idea that it's to benefit humans.
yes.
But is there one action that benefits all humans or some
Right.
humans?
And how is that
And
defined?
who who are we?
Right. Clearly, right now, it's benefiting some humans.
At the expense of other humans.
Right.
People
And
who,
and even the guard, even those from, I mean, not that I've followed it super closely, but even the Anthropic and everybody else debate, like my understanding is that's more around like how much the AI is allowed to do on its own versus having a human, backup to the AI's decisions.
A driver
Not-
in the seat of a
Right.
self-driving car.
Right,
Yeah.
versus, but not necessarily, as far as I understand, not necessarily the decisions that the AI is proposing being fundamentally guided by some set of ethics or morals. I might be wrong about that.
And who's watching all of that?
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much intelligence going on.
Chip, I would. I've been talking a lot more than you. I would enjoy hearing your thoughts on some of this as the person who gave life to the
That's the robot.
to the
geez.
steel of the gardener with his head shears.
With his head shears. Yeah. Okay. Not to put me on the spot or
Sorry.
anything. No.
Why did you do it?
Preparing for the character, what went through your head, what had to change, or from your own feelings about it.
I keep coming back to Hal from 2001. I'm sorry, Dave. It was right there,
Yeah.
and that was 69 or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But just the notion, we create these things, and who's God? Yeah, who's in charge here? And when does the machine say, "Yeah, I'm not going to do that. It's not. I'm looking out for myself." Or you wonder if they all get together somewhere in a bar, AI, and just like we'd be a lot better off with all these people,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Your guys at Anthropic, they're kind of okay, but my guy made me call myself Mecha Hitler. He's just a dirt.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do we do about that? I don't know. It's so terrifying that it's hard to look at for very long.
And Alan wrote this in 59.
Well, it's
Yeah.
published in
I mean,
59, he
59,
might have
sorry.
written it in 58.
So that's, where's the math? 42, 60 years ago? 80 years ago?
Yeah.
My math.
Over 60. Yeah, 66, 67 years ago.
So I just, had this notion of, 60 years from now,
Jeez,
Yeah.
so the people who are writing now presumably are throwing their nets some distance in the future and coming up with what they're imagining either their greatest fears are or their speculations about where things might go right or wrong. Sort of an interesting.
And there's a chicken and egg thing there too, because
Yeah.
we seem to be creating these things that were created by science fiction 50, 60 years ago are becoming true. And
Well, cell phones and
Right,
Star
all that.
Trek.
Yeah.
yeah.
And then conversely, Ray Bradbury, towards the end of his life, was very troubled by that. He used to say, I'm not trying to predict the future, I'm trying to stop it. And evidently wasn't working.
One of the things that I think is interesting about a lot of Alan's stories is that sense of ethics that runs through them. And without going into other stories, other than the Dodgem one that I mentioned, that is one that he wrote much more recently, which has to do with self-driving cars having more of a conscience than the people who were programming the cars to do something wrong. And so the robots who take that dictum seriously to not harm humans become the kind of heroes of some of his stories.
Interesting.
Was he a scientist or a writer?
He was a writer.
He was a writer, and this
Yeah.
was his
But
imagination.
fascinated about science.
Yeah.
And research, I mean, he
He did his
He did
research
a lot
in
of
science. He's
digging.
very interested
Yeah.
in science, but he was essentially a writer. He wasn't drawing from the work he did as a scientist.
No, when I met him, he was a blood bank technician, so he was a phlebotomist. So he
wild
had innocent blood.
imagination.
But just with an insatiable curiosity
Yeah.
and a love of language, and
Yeah.
he had a personal dictionary that had a notebook for each letter and collected interesting words.
Squamous epithelium.
Squamous.
That was great.
The phlebotomy, that's interesting because of how I think one of the best, just on like a writing level, one of the best parts of this is how the kind of sticky visceralness of the blood with the footprints of the flies.
Yeah.
So it's cool. It's cool to hear that he has this background of working with like blood as a substance professionally.
Yeah, he was who I first learned about blood types from, for example.
It's funny, we're talking about all these precursors to this idea, and I'm thinking of Frankenstein's monster.
Yes.
Were the things before then? Wasn't that kind of a first of its kind thing in the terms of the theme of man creating something?
Well, there's the golem in Jewish
Yeah, I
folklore.
was just gonna say.
I think Frankenstein's monster is probably one of the earliest non-Jewish examples.
Oh, interesting.
No, Adam and Eve might qualify.
Honestly, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Creation
okay,
sort of
something being
not
created that
necessarily.
goes beyond, what
Yeah,
it was intended to do.
rebels.
Oh,
Yeah.
fascinating.
So I wondered about previous visitors to the estate and what their experience was like.
Right. They're all stacked up in the shed. In the back.
He's scary, I'm telling you, he's just scary.
Don't sell yourself short. This was the first and only time. They just had
That's
to.
what he said.
They just had to deal with the kind of off-putting gardener.
It was
before
Well,
that.
and did the gardener think before doing itself in that he was actually setting you up to take the fall?
Oh, wow.
Gosh, I didn't even consider that. Oh my god! Wow,
good.
Chip, you really screwed me.
That might be a good place to end this.